When I started doing my research about the global threat of cybersecurity a few weeks ago, I never anticipated that the world itself would be turned upside down and the fear of people's right to exist would be put into question. I, like many people, are concerned about the current events, but unfortunately, it's not in my wheelhouse. So instead, let's talk about what's in my wheelhouse. So that threat to global security, which a few weeks ago equated to a scary fairy tale. Baba Yaga, told by herds of nerds with thick-rimmed glasses traveling in swarms from conference to conference, screaming about the imminent threat and yet never really listened to. It's truly unfortunate that the scary monster hiding under the bed has exceeded our expectations, and unlike Baba Yaga and the Boogeyman, it turned out to be far more real than any one of us could have ever imagined. So you're not paranoid. It's proper. Hey guys, I'm Nixie Pixel, and on this channel I cover topics like Linux and open source culture. We just finished an open source culture conference, and we cover tech that's uniquely geeky and accessible and fun. I also have a vlogs channel, so let's take a look at the world around us and make the choice to be positive and proactive while we find solutions. So if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to hit the bell down there. It lets me know you care, and the YouTube algorithm doesn't let me know that very often. Even though it seems like everything is happening all at once, the current news cycle rotating around just a few things right now is one of the biggest is Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And these are high-level think tanks that are working 24/7 on this right now. And the only thing we have with real certainty is that they are probably doing everything that they can to figure out how to avoid World War III. That whole mutually assured destruction thing is pretty intense when you realize the main reason that there hasn't been a third world war is that even the ruling classes figure glassing the planet with nukes is kind of counterproductive to their own goals. But let's lighten up a little bit. Remember when the Java log4j vuln gave hackers access to devices and networks? One of the biggest concerns is how many systems and networks could have lurkers ready to trigger anything from data exfiltration to catastrophic attacks. If you haven't seen that video, do give it a watch. I loved making it, and I love that you guys are into my Properly Paranoid series after so many years. This particular situation is also kind of like that, only now we've been made aware that the state-sponsored Russian hackers have lurked over data streams, including the US Department of Defense information, and they're not all gone either. With tensions having escalated to actual war, we've seen Microsoft identify a potentially nasty bit of malware named Foxblade and bring it to the government's attention. Hacker group Anonymous launched an operation against Russia, leaking the Russian Ministry of Economic Development's database, which has since been recovered by Russia, and they also led the DDoS charge, as with many net-running cavalries as they could muster. There are at least 3 levels of cyber warfare involved between the different actors in the situation so far. Type 1 consists of acronym agencies and bureaus, always somewhere on a chain of command, state-run hacking. This is what most people think of when they think of the hostile foreign power committing cyber attacks. Full Monty government reach, the likes of which are portrayed in movies. There have been plenty of these things going on back and forth, but we're not going to hear much about that. Type 2 is where we find state-sponsored and non-government organizations, or NGOs, that are encouraged but without the explicit backing of the government. While some of these NGOs are small-scale with narrow specializations, there are also global orgs of skilled experts like Jane's, an open-source defense intelligence giant. Type 3 are independents and opportunists taking advantage of the lax cyber laws and enforcement in Russia with the intent to profit. Independents and for hires are the ones hacking for ransom right now. There are also larger scale hacking projects such as Ghostwriter, named by Mandian in 2020, and they have been seen up through the current events with Ukraine. What we're seeing now coming out of Russia in reference to Ukraine is multi-layered, okay? So the DNS attacks are suspected from types 1 and 2, and we're seeing heavy state and state-sponsored influence. Considering we're talking about nations at war, this stands to reason, but of course that's not all that's going on. The unaffiliated operators on type 3, I guess you could say, are doing more than their fair share in causing unrest, resource insecurity, and pretty much any issue that they can. Many of these particular attacks are coming from oligarch-backed groups, and their main job is to make money from the oligarch employing them. Believe it or not, most of their initial infiltration happens from phishing and from tracker insertions via email, like old school. I remember that was one of my first hacks that I had against me. Essentially, it was during the time of Yahoo and Hotmail and whatnot, and apparently I got actually a targeted attack, and what the person did was they apparently embedded just like a 1 pixel by 1 pixel JPEG into my email that somehow gained access to my email, found out my address. This is really creepy, sorry, warning, creepy alert, which is why I have creepy things they know about you as a segment in one of my YouTube videos, which I also call Properly Paranoid, because this is exactly what we're talking about. But yeah, so they got my address, and then they sent me a letter with apparently also in my email, I had a picture of myself photoshopped over that, and then they sent it to me in the mail with no return address label. Yeah.
Creepy.
Is that like conversation ending for everyone?
Well, kind of.
I gotta stress to you though that this is not sophisticated next level hacking that they're doing. They just gain access, perch up out of the way, and watch. And this is akin to someone sitting across the street from an ATM and observing everyone, or taking photos of ATM cards. Arguably creepy, but not actively doing anything, just watching. Just know that one day someone's gonna drop a 20 as they put away their wallet, and maybe, just maybe, an ATM card will be still left in the machine, or, still scanned in, I guess you could say. There's something else too, that same sort of catch what you can spearphishing. Spearphishing is actually a much more targeted form of phishing attack that has been used at higher levels and on more dangerous scopes, like with the US Department of Defense contractors, and they're the targets that we've been hearing about. So we'll talk more about targeted attacks and the implications for the year is 2022, and we are using words like cyber attack and cyber warfare unironically. This is now real life. It's not just theatrical warfare or upper echelon corporate intelligence that we need to be paying attention to. You can look at the macro and consider how much of our infrastructure is hackable. Things like consumer electronics and medical equipment are on the micro, but still exploitable to a devastating effect. Given how fast cybersecurity concerns are moving right now, most of us aren't actors on a global stage, but we still need to be careful. The usual common sense rules like not clicking on random links in emails and taking practical measures to protect our sensitive information still key. You don't have to deep dive into hardcore hacking to build a competent privacy toolkit either. You could also check out my Properly Paranoid series where I talk about, best practices and passwords and securing yourself on a personal level right now. And it would mean a lot for me for you guys to hit that subscribe button, because YouTube's algorithm is probably already going to bury this video. I would be so surprised if you found it in the first place. And that will also bring us, since we've covered type 1, 2, and 3 of types of hacks, we'll get into more in depth on what it means for us, like credential stuffing and more. Not the tasty kind of stuffing, but the still very interesting kind of stuffing. Have you ever been the target of a hack or an attack? I'd love to know your experience and how you handled it, you know, if you're comfortable in it, in the comments below. And we actually have a really awesome community that that I created in 2017 called GeekBeacon, and we've really blown up. Since then, we've just came off of the 2-day open culture conference, so please, you know, check that out. And in the meantime, just, yeah, head over to discord.geekbeacon.org. We're doing some more lighthearted stuff over on my vlogs channel, and we're just, you know, kind of enjoying it and trying to pull back from the depths of despair. So, and next week I will delve in deeper on what the cybersecurity considerations are really. And, you know, until then, stay safe out there, and I will talk nerdy to you later.